everybody, and welcome to episode 58 of the HooperCast. I am Mr. Hooper, again, the same Hooper that I was yesterday, but somehow different still. Hello, Dustin.
Hello, Hooper. That's existential.
I know. And who knows what I'll be tomorrow. I
know.
Be different tomorrow. Might be the
Could
same.
be.
Who knows?
You won't be the same. You'll be different.
Oh, I'll be different. We just don't know how.
Right.
Or why.
True.
Or what we're doing here.
Oh, God.
Anyway, today Dustin and I have brought you some reviews for some a handful of new releases, and if we have time, a handful of recent and past releases too. Unfortunately, no future releases.
Oh.
So sorry. Anyway, well, Dustin, you've got 7 movies in total. I've got 6. So why don't you get started?
Okay. Jumping right in here.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw...
Which one did you see?
Oh, man. All of them. All at once. But the last one got me. I wish I could share it with you people, but I cannot. It's tragic. Oh man. Okay.
Alright, everyone, I basically went into the Google Doc and we messed with we have all the movies written out. And Dustin replaced some words of my movies with inappropriate words, and so I did the same to his.
Oh Lord have mercy.
Alright, Jesus Christ again.
Okay.
Alright. Anyway, which one of those would you like to do first?
I guess we'll start with Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
I did not want to see it on opening weekend, but it didn't really matter because it still opened like with the second biggest weekend of the year, right?
Something like that. Although I thought I heard it still underperformed. Is that because the budget was so big?
Well, yes and no. I mean, that plays a part in it, but also Sony projected it at hitting $1 billion.
Wow.
And it's not gonna come close. And as far as, and that's the worldwide total. Domestically, it's going to be lucky to get past 200 million, which is kind of small for a mega franchise like Spider-Man. I don't have a whole lot to say about this. I mean I do, but maybe we'll save it for after Hooper sees it.
Right.
But yeah, okay. So Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's weird to say, but in some ways it is better than the first. Just the costume is a lot better. It feels like some of the actors have settled into their roles a little better, which is good. I mean, that's good news. The bad news is the roles still aren't written quite right. But every now and then you get sort of like a glimpse at, Andrew Garfield would be a good Spider-Man if he was actually playing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And so that's a little depressing. But basically they bit off more than they could chew with this one, and they had too many villains. I think I counted. I'd have to go back and count again, but I think I counted reference to maybe 10 villains in this movie.
Jeez.
That's not to say they all showed up or that they were all villains yet, the ones who did, but there were 10 villains referenced in this film. Basically that's a bad thing because you're trying to build a world around the villains instead of the hero, and that's never going to work because the villains aren't your protagonist. And even though they're making the Sinister Six a movie where it's separate from Spider-Man and they are the protagonists, it's just not going to work. I mean, as much as I love the Joker, he's not going to work without Batman. And likewise, Goblin doesn't work without Spidey. And, you know what I mean? It's just going to be really weird. But basically, it's an okay movie. It does some really cool things, and it does some really, really stupid things. So if you're wondering, is it better than the first one? Yes, it is. But it's still not the movie that you hope it would be. In fact, it's still pretty stupid. They don't. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a lot of things that happen in this that's like, why? Why does that even happen? And one of the things I will say is there's a gap of time in this movie. So you have your opening sequence, and this isn't a spoiler because it's the opening sequence. In the opening sequence, they're graduating from high school, Peter and Gwen, and, all the other people. And so anyway, but Peter and Gwen. And so they're graduating from high school, and then there's like a gap, and then, the rest of the movie happens because, that's your opening sequence or whatever. But they don't really talk about the length of time that happens. So when I left the theater, I thought it was a month. When I was talking to other people, they thought it was a year. When I've read reviews, I've heard a year, I've heard months, I've heard weeks, I've heard people say it's days. The fact is, nobody knows the length of time that is gapped here.
Wow.
Which, from a screenwriting point of view, is ridiculous because, A, if you're going to jump forward a year, as much as a year in the life of these people, why is that not obvious? And, I hate the idea of having to spell everything out to your audience, but if you're going to jump a year, tell me, don't just assume that I'm going to know. And then the other thing is oh, bollocks. Lost my train of thought. Okay, so you just don't know what the length of time that was spanned in this film is. And that's really frustrating to come out of a movie and not know. And also, if you don't know, then it obviously didn't matter. Mm-hmm. So why even do it? And so it's things like that where it just feels like the screenplay was just rushed and no one really thought about anything. And that's really disappointing because, Mark Webb, I think he's a talented guy, and it just doesn't make any sense to me that he would read the script and think it was ready. Or that he would, read the script, prepare to shoot it, and not prepare something, like okay, go to Alex Kurtzman or whoever and just say, like, hey, we need, 3 lines of dialogue just to explain this a little better. And let him come up with it on set. I mean, it's not that hard. And, stuff like that. It just bothers me because it just feels like there's no thought put into this. So yeah, okay, don't go see it. Wait for it on Redbox. You'll be fine. Mm-hmm. The most disappointing thing of the whole thing is that there's Spider-Man movies, I think, planned up until, 2018?
Yeah.
With, I think there's going to be Sinister 6 next, and then Spider-Man 3, and then Venom, and then Spider-Man 4, if I remember right. And so movies planned up to 2018, which means going at the same rate, like the gap between Spider-Man 3 and then The Amazing Spider-Man, it's going to be like, 10 years before we get another good Spider-Man movie? A possibility of another good Spider-Man movie? I mean, let's put that into perspective, Hooper. The next time that you see a good Spider-Man movie in theaters, you will be taking your daughter who is entering middle school to see it.
My God.
I know. It's ridiculous.
Wow. Just the prospect of my daughter walking right now seems so far away, you know what I mean?
Like, much less knowing, multiplication tables and...
Or wanting to see a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Theoretically, by the time there's a good Spider-Man movie, your daughter will have read more Spider-Man comics than you.
That's pretty insane.
It is.
Wow.
So anyway, there you go. But I do think, Hooper, that you should see it somehow or another, so that we can just tear it apart.
All right.
In a big spoiler episode.
All right. I'm down
Because
with
the
that.
first one was fun to tear apart.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I got out to the movies on Friday, and I went and saw X-Men: Days of Future Past.
Mm-hmm.
So this just came out. It is what is this, like the 7th X-Men film?
Good lord, yeah, I think it is.
X-Men 1, 2, 3, Wolverine.
Origins, Wolverine, First Class.
First Class, yeah, seventh film featuring an X-Men character. I mean, but they're all canon, essentially.
Right, yeah. Which is crazy, too, that Hugh Jackman's played the same character 7 times.
7 times. I've got a little bit to say about that toward the end of this, but basically,
okay.
this movie takes place, the farthest in the future, obviously, of all of these movies, and it's basically a future where, and I thought it was going to be like maybe I don't know, it can't be 100 years because everyone except for Wolverine ages normally, but in the time that, let's see, the Wolverine takes place 2 years after X-Men 3.
Okay.
And then I think a year after that, there's the stinger after the Wolverine where he meets Magneto and Professor Xavier in the airport. Mm-hmm. Okay, so 3 years after X-Men 3. Mm-hmm. So presumably, I don't know. I can't remember how much time they say passes, but Wolverine goes back in time to 1973, and he says about 50 years from now this stuff will happen. So 50 years from 1973 is 83, 93, 2003, 2013, 2023. So it pretty much means that around the year 2023, mm-hmm. the world is a obliterated dystopia. Where like no one's left. I think at one point Xavier uses Cerebro or a kind of Cerebro, and you just see how few mutants there are because these Sentinels that were introduced have killed all of them, and they've mm-hmm. either imprisoned them and imprisoned the humans who tried to help them, and so mm-hmm. they basically determined that this all pretty much started in 1973. The guy who made the Sentinels was named Bolivar Trask, played by Peter Dinklage, and he decides that he's going to make these Sentinels who will hunt down the mutants, and Mystique, learned of this and went out on her own and killed him, but her killing him only fueled the effort to make the Sentinels because it proved his point. Mm-hmm. And then after she kills him, they capture her and they basically synthesize her DNA, and so they make the Sentinels able to adapt to the targets that they're hunting. So even if Pyro shoots fire at it, eventually it learns if I ice myself over, I can kill him. Mm-hmm. So Magneto and Professor Xavier basically say, if we can, and so throughout the beginning sequence, Kitty Pryde, Ellen Page, is sending one of their people back in time, like, a day or so, mm-hmm. To warn them, to warn that same group of people he's in that the Sentinels are attacking, and that's basically mm-hmm. how they stay alive. She just keeps sending them back in time, like a week or so. So they decide, how do we get someone back that far? Mm-hmm. And she said it can't be done, the mind will be ripped apart, blah blah blah. And Wolverine says, well, what if your mind can heal? So she's like, maybe that'll work, good thing you're here. And they basically she sends Wolverine back in time, and subsequently spends the entire movie in that part of the timeline standing over his head with some beams coming out of her hands shooting into his head. So it's not like she sends him back and then she can stand up and go like eat or take a pee-pee. She has to sit there the whole time and maintain him. It's like being in the Matrix, basically.
Gotcha.
So that happens. At one point in the movie, Wolverine freaks out, and then his claws in the future come out, and he cuts her, and so it's like, oh, you gotta, he's like, it's just like being plugged into the Matrix.
Right.
So they send him back in time to essentially stop Mystique from killing him, and then also to unite Professor Xavier and Magneto, played again by James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, And so, the movie unites the two casts they've had, tying up their timelines together, and essentially righting some wrongs that
Good.
Fox has allowed to happen to the X-Men films. I won't specify what they are because they're potentially they're not spoilers to the plot of the film, but they're spoilers to the resolution of the film and the future of the franchise.
Gotcha.
So I won't say them, but just stuff that most people will like, having happened, basically. But the movie overall, I liked it. I mean, I've only really ever watched these movies because I like the Wolverine character. So to continue his, story is just interesting to me already. The X-Men films have always tasted different to me than the movies. I don't know. Then they've always had a consistent feel to them to me. Like I watched it and I thought, oh, this is an X-Men film, but I don't know what I mean by that.
Right.
I just know that there's the continuing theme of being, although not as much in the other films, of being hunted down because you're different. But it works and it's interesting. It's okay. It's a solid movie. I mean, it's not. It's got some problems. It's not perfect. But it's solid. I think it's and I think most reviews out there have sort of referred to it as the among the better X-Men films. I mean, it's certainly better than 3 and Origins and maybe even the first one. I still really like X-Men 2 and I like the Wolverine. But it's pretty good.
Okay. Well, what about for someone like me who I don't really like those movies very much, but I'm debating on seeing this in theaters as a matinee just because. Is that a good idea or a bad idea?
I'd say flip a coin. I mean, it's I wouldn't call it a must-see if you're not interested in the franchise. I think it's worth seeing. But
I have interest in the franchise, but I'm not invested in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it's a franchise that I wish I liked.
Right. It's I don't know. I'm glad I saw it. I think it's definitely worth a matinee. I mean, being the kind of movie it is, it'll definitely keep your attention.
Sure.
There's some pretty cool elements in it that are different from the previous X-Men films. Namely, there's a lot of graphic deaths in there. From there are times, especially in the timelines. Like I said, the opening sequence, they go back in time already. So you see characters die who are alive a few minutes later. Because they're back in time. And you see at one point you see them rip off Iceman's head. And step on it. He's in ice form, though. That's how they get away with it. But when you think about, holy shit, they just decapitated him. They pull off his fucking head. And step on it. And crush his brain. I mean, they pull Colossus in half. They pull some girl into, a fiery, light beam thing that basically shoots off her face. It's nuts. These Sentinels are, They
mean business.
Yeah, they mean business.
Business.
So there's a few things that are, and there's also the addition of Quicksilver, but that's a plot hole in itself. Not really a plot hole as much as it is explain this. Wolverine, basically, they talk about breaking Magneto out of where he is. He's in a prison somewhere, and he says, okay, Wolverine's I know a guy who might be able to do it. He should be a young man right now. He lives outside D.C. And then they go find Quicksilver. And I'm like, when have you ever referenced knowing Quicksilver? I know a guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Or of a guy? Did I mishear him? Just conveniently, I know a guy who can run really fast, who is perfect for this job, and lives really close by. What?
Wow.
So the Quicksilver scenes are filmed pretty interestingly, as they have been said, but honestly, they're not that different from, you know, like any of the time freezing scenes from, you know, from like Heroes or something. Like it's impressive, but it's almost like it's not that different. Like they really built it up to be like this super revolutionary way to film like speedster stuff, and it's like, I don't know, not really. It's just just kind of what I expected, but it's not bad. It's just, you know, what else do you got?
Yeah.
And this isn't a spoiler either, but after Quicksilver helps break Magneto out of the prison, you never see him again. He is not part of the climax of the film. So it's like, why is he there? He's there to do one thing. And then like he's watching TV at the end of it, like as something's happening, but it's to which I expected, is he going to run over there really fast and save everyone? Nope. Stays at home and watches TV. So I was a little disappointed that we didn't get more of him. Like, with a character like that, you want him to not only do that one scene where you're introduced to his speed, you want him to be part of the climax to do something integral to someone running that fast.
Right, exactly. If you're going to introduce a new character.
Yeah. It's the equivalent of showing someone the gun in the first act and then saying, you know, it's just, you know, never see him again.
Wow, I didn't expect that at all.
It's disappointing, you know. I was, you know, so whatever. The actors are all good, you know, and that's cool and everything. It's a solid movie. But there was some slash film article about 5 plot holes, you know, that I read it after I saw the movie, and it was of course by Dave Chen, just the guy over there who I most hate. Because he's always talking about, you know, minority casting and, you know, really stupid nitpicks. It's just the kind of person who irritates me. And none of them are really plot holes at all. It was just, I don't know, it was just him trying to get clicks. But, I want to talk about Wolverine real quick. Hugh Jackman had said after doing this movie, like, he think that he probably had one more Wolverine in him. Because he's getting older and it's really hard to get in shape for Wolverine, and he's not sure how much longer he can do it. But then, like a month after that, he basically said, "No, I've changed my mind. Like, I really like the way we're taking the franchise, and I've never been more excited to be playing Wolverine, and I want to keep doing it." And so I don't know if there was a deal in place that just, you know, similar to the Christian Bale Batman deal, where they basically may have said to him, we'll give you $50 million per picture for the foreseeable future if you keep playing Wolverine. Because he was already going to do, you know, this next solo Wolverine film, whatever it is. But that was going to be it. And him and, what's his name, James Mangold, the guy who did the Wolverine, you know, before, clearly he found the guy he likes, and they're going to keep doing it. But, something changed his mind, so I don't know if the reception to this film was good, and so he felt confident in continuing it. I don't know. But I like it because I can't really see anyone else playing Wolverine. I'm really happy with him as Wolverine, and you know, if he had stopped it after this film and some other solo film, I would have felt satisfied because I thought, you know, he had a good run, you know. But I'd like to keep seeing him play Wolverine.
The thing with me is, like, he's not who I would have picked to play Wolverine, but at this point, I'm just so used to seeing him in that role, it might as well just be Wolverine forever.
Right.
And part of me is probably just scared of who they'll pick, you know, if he ever leaves.
Yeah.
It'll be some, like, you know, Liam Hemsworth dude.
Right. My whole thing isn't so much that he wouldn't be playing Wolverine. It'd be that they recast Wolverine in the middle of this franchise continuing. Like, if the X-Men movies ended, you know, 5 years from now, and pretty much everyone stopped playing their characters. Even if
total reboot.
Even if, I'm okay with that. Like, a total reboot. Like, you know, I didn't want them to do Spider-Man and have someone else play Spider-Man. But at least everyone else was recast, you know.
Yeah, true.
But I don't want Hugh Jackman to stop and then everyone else continue, because that basically has written all over it, I'm too old to do this.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I prefer to think of it as this is like with the comic books, we say this all the time, a different artist drawing the same character.
It's a different adaptation, yeah.
That's all I think of it as. So that's the same way I feel about someone else playing Tony Stark, you know, in the near future. I don't want that to happen either because everyone else is the same. How the fuck do you explain why he looks different, you know?
Yeah, right.
So I don't like that.
My thing is, like, I like these guys. I just don't want them to... I'm noticing a trend in Hollywood of casting young dudes for roles that should be played by older dudes.
Yeah.
And it really, really, really aggravates me.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just would hate to see, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't even think of a young actor now. But...
No.
But, yeah.
Kellen
Just somebody
Lutz.
else playing... Yeah, Kellen Lutz as Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Or Kellen Stover as Tony
Or Kellen
Stark.
Well, Kellen does like robots, so I imagine he would really appreciate that role.
And Kellen would love for it to be like Iron Man in space.
Yeah. Kellen... In fact, they should call Kellen, because he'd do it for way less money, and he'd enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, and I would enjoy it a whole lot.
Yeah, I think, at least you and me would go see those movies. I'd go
Just
see
Kellen,
them twice.
Kellen with like a little fake like mustache and goatee.
Uh-huh.
I can just picture that perfectly.
Drawn on with magic marker.
Yes, exactly. That would be awesome. Also want to see Luke Hurling as Bruce Banner.
Yes. Yes. We can write a letter to Marvel and see if they'll do it. Anyway, that's really my thoughts on this film. I think I went a little bit longer on than I intended to, but it's a solid film, and for the franchise going forward, it's good. I also am apprehensive about how much longer can Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart play their characters. I mean,
yeah,
Ian McKellen, I love that guy, and you know,
I do too.
But he is old as fuck. And
dude, he's looking so old.
And he in this movie, he looks old. Like, he does some cool Magneto stuff, but like, I feel like they were there for like a week. You know, they could have shot all their stuff in like a week. So, you know, it's just like...
Yeah, he looks like he's still fine as Gandalf, but when you get him in the Magneto costume, it's like...
Yeah, it's just like, yo, you are old.
Yeah, you belong like at a park, like feeding birds.
Yeah, it's just
like breadcrumbs.
Like, at least Gandalf is supposed to be old. Magneto's kind of supposed to be old, but he's not supposed to be like elderly.
Yeah,
so
Magneto's not supposed to be the point where he's like, you know, trying to catch the rerun of Hogan's Heroes at 3.
Anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on this film. Solid movie. You know, it was good for the franchise because, you know, the franchise was kind of going rah, rah. So, you know. Anyway, well, let's move forward. What's another one you got?
Okay, so the next new release that I saw is Godzilla.
Yeah.
This was one of my 2 most anticipated movies of the summer. It's this and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And those are my 2 most anticipated of the summer. And so I finally saw Godzilla. And I have to say, it was a little bit of a letdown. The movie that you get when you see the full thing is not the movie that's in the trailers. But that's okay, because it's still interesting, but only part of it. Anybody who's seen a Godzilla movie knows you kind of have to suffer through a human section in order to get to the cool monster section.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the way every Godzilla movie is. You have your scientist and, like, you know, your random protagonist, and you have to suffer through those scenes just to get to the ones you want to watch. And this movie is not any different, and I'd kind of hoped that this would kind of be a very Western Godzilla as opposed to, you know, the same Godzilla that there is in Japan. Because the Japanese movies are good, don't get me wrong. They're good for kids, but, you know, at a certain point, they don't offer you anything anymore. And so I was hoping that this would be, you know, something cool and new. And so anyway, basically, the movie focuses on Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, which, I hate to say it, but the guy's kind of boring to me as an actor. And it seems like I'm saying that more and more, and I don't know if I'm just getting jaded or if Hollywood's just casting boring people. But yeah, he's kind of boring, and then the best actors they have, Bryan Cranston and Ken Watanabe, are kind of reduced to very small background kind of stuff. And that's really, really a shame, because Aaron Taylor Johnson does not have the presence that those two guys have. And, it would take maybe 17 Aaron Taylor Johnsons to equal a Bryan Cranston. And so, that's the equation. Yeah, basically, Aaron Taylor Johnson plays a character who is a lieutenant, and he's, I think, in the bomb disposal unit, and basically, you remember Cloverfield, how you follow these characters around the city, and they encounter weird things every 10 or 15 minutes, and then that weird thing. Okay, here's the military in a shopping mall or whatever. After about 10 minutes, it's over, and they're on to the next weird thing, like the subway or, whatever it is. This is exactly the same as that. It's Aaron Taylor Johnson getting himself into crazy situations every, 10 to 20 minutes. And a lot of it's cool. It takes half the movie to really get a good shot of Godzilla, and when you do, it's worth it. The guy, this is such an awesome CG character. It's like Smaug a little bit, just in terms of you wouldn't think he could be that expressive, and yet he is. It's really Godzilla. The Godzilla sections of the film are really great. It's just you kind of have to get through the Aaron Taylor Johnson stuff to get to the Godzilla.
See, and that should be interesting along with the action sequences.
That's right.
You should feel equally engaged.
That's right. It shouldn't feel like in a way, it's almost like you go to commercial break. You know what I mean? Mm. If you're watching a sitcom, you're invested for 10 minutes, and then you're completely zoned out for a few minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's a Toyota commercial. And then you're right back invested. And it's the same thing here. And it's not to say that everything in the main plot is bad. It's just that it's not as interesting. Like when you go see a movie called Godzilla, there's really one reason why you go to see that movie. And it's Godzilla. Mm-hmm. And, yes, the Japanese movies have always been humans first, Godzilla second. This was a good chance to kind of put America's own stamp on the formula and do something different. And I guess that's kind of what I hoped for. And, the trailers all make it seem very much centered on Godzilla and just the destruction, that he causes. But the movie's really not that at all. But the movie, I will say this, the original Godzilla from 1954 was obviously a metaphor for the attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and so it was a very smart movie at its time, because here's basically the United States as portrayed by a giant monster. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it made it kind of smart, and it gave it this depth that monster movies don't usually have. And here you kind of get the same thing. So this is a good thing, right? That they had something to say. What they had to say, however, probably wasn't as important. It seems to be the theme of the movie is that man is not in control of nature. That man has no say over natural occurrences, which is true. Man couldn't control the waters when they rose in New Orleans. We couldn't control that. these natural disasters, mudslides and forest fires and whatever. But we can, and so likewise, we can't control Godzilla. You know, like that's the parallel here, which is fine. It's just not quite as deep as you would hope, because everyone kind of knows already that we can't control nature unless you're like Storm,
right?
But you know, the movie did some cool things. Like I said, Godzilla looks really, really cool. It takes a while. Eventually, you'll see him use his atomic breath, and that junk looks awesome. It's a really cool movie. Don't get me wrong. And if you're gonna see it, I'd kind of recommend it in theaters just to get the scope of it. You know what I mean? I almost saw it in IMAX just to, you know, experience as big as I could, but I did not want to pay for 3D, so I did not. So anyway, but yeah, it's a good movie. I will say this as my last thing here. It's really weird because in this movie, not only do you have some really great actors, but so Aaron Taylor Johnson is married to Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah.
And it's really weird knowing that they're about to play brother and sister in the Avengers.
Yeah.
It's really strange. But you know,
it's really sexy.
Or it's really, really awesome. But yeah, it's, you know, there you go. Also,
this is how I feel about siblings boiking each other.
cool.
Well, she stopped crying, so I can't. Now it looks like I'm acceptable of it.
Yes. This is how I feel. Nothing. I feel nothing.
I'm just glad she didn't laugh.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, you know. Also, it feels like fathers are getting a lot younger in movies these days. Aaron Taylor Johnson, how old is that guy?
He's like 24 or something. He's really young.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's younger than us,
Yeah.
and in the movie he has like a 7-year-old son.
Wow. Wait, what?
Okay, maybe he's 5. I don't know, but the actor they get to play the son is probably every bit of 7.
Yeah, it used to be that fathers in movies, no matter where they were at least 40.
Yeah.
Like, look, I'm a young father. I get it, but like, it's almost just a weird way of like you. I don't know. It just doesn't on film for some reason. It doesn't unless the film is about being a young parent. You shouldn't cast a young parent.
Well, it's not just that. It's just that Aaron Taylor Johnson doesn't seem like a dad.
Yeah.
He seems like, I think he maybe is a dad. I don't know.
I think him and his strange old wife have a child, but
that's what I was getting at.
yeah,
but the child's not 6 or 5 or however old.
I sure as hell hope not.
Yeah, of course. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson is probably playing older than he is in this movie.
Yeah,
but still, it's just weird because I know he's like our age or maybe younger,
Yeah.
and here's this kid, and the kid's in elementary school, and it's just like this is weird to me.
Yeah.
Now, somehow.
Yeah.
But considering his dad is played by Bryan Cranston, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Go see Godzilla. I think it's really good. Don't try to find a cheap show because don't pay full price. There's a cool theater around here that if you can catch a show between I think it's 4 and 5 every day, it's $5 to get in.
Mobile's got Stimulus Tuesdays on the at the Carmichael on the Schillinger Road too. And it's like $5.25 or something for a matinee, and then like bottomless popcorn or something.
Ooh,
or bottomless
nice.
Ladies, but I think it's the popcorn though. That'd be a really insane deal on a weekday.
It would
between
be.
4 and 5.
Yes.
Come to the movie theater. Bring your family. We've got bottomless. Lots of things.
But yeah, go see it cheap.
Okay.
Because like I said, it is cool. I mean, the last third of the movie is really when you kind of like get a lot of Godzilla, and don't expect what's in the trailers. The movie is not that. You know what? No, I was going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it.
All right. I saw The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. I'm going to say Smaug because I'm an American.
It's Smaug, Hooper.
I know, but I don't care.
Smaug.
Smaug. The Desolation of Smaug.
Smaug.
Oh, great. Smaug.
Smaug the Stupendous.
And it was good. I liked it. I'd say just as much as I liked An Unexpected Journey. I was interested in the story. I was engaged. There was no fat that had to be trimmed, as people continually try to assert about these movies. We've talked enough about that, so I don't have to get into it. But I really liked that barrel sequence that everyone was talking about. It was pretty sweet. I liked the Legolas and the Tariel story. Yeah. I really liked Benedict Cumberbatch's voicing of the dragon. Yeah. And I like kind of the the subtle continuation of Bilbo's attachment to the ring. Yeah. To the point where doesn't he? Oh, I can't remember in the movie. Doesn't he? Okay, I can't remember this for sure, but tell me if I'm wrong. Doesn't he kill like an animal that tries to take it or something?
He does, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I was just like, oh, okay, this is clearly becoming an issue.
Yeah. And it's really, see, I love that scene because it's like a big centipede or something.
Yeah, that's right.
That like comes up out of the ground, and so Bilbo fights this thing, and then when he kills it, he grabs the ring, and you can see like on Martin Freeman's face, because there's no dialogue here because he's by himself. You can see that once he has the ring back in his possession, it's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of deal. Yeah. Like he completely changes, and he's almost like mortified at what he's done. Yeah. Almost like he didn't know he was doing it.
He says one word. He says mine.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah. And see, I love that, and there's a lot of people that really, really assert that these movies have given zero character to Bilbo, and I find that ridiculous because I think they're just not watching. I think they're coming in so jaded, and they're just not watching. I don't know.
I mean, it's
because Bilbo now is very much a different character than he was in the first one.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a different character, every half hour. I mean he is changing. I mean and he'll still be the lovable Bilbo that we know from the Fellowship of the Ring, but he's
right.
Bilbo. Look, the Lord of the Rings movies are not essentially, but partially cover the topic of addiction, basically. When you think about it, I mean Bilbo. If you want to equate what? Oh my God, can you hear that?
Yeah, she's singing.
Basically, Bilbo, if you equate the ring to any substance, let's just call it, I don't know.
Crack cocaine.
Yeah, crack cocaine. Bilbo is really lovable and, a fun-loving guy in the Fellowship of the Ring, but he's been hiding this decades-old crack cocaine habit from everyone. Yeah. He's hiding it from his best friends, his family, and, he's hiding it from them. So, I mean...
And then he passes down his crack pipe to his nephew.
Yeah, then he basically says, I don't want the crack anymore, take it, Frodo. And Frodo's like, I'll save you, uncle, but by smoking this crack.
All the way to Mordor.
And then you meet Gollum, who's a genuine, looks and acts like a crackhead. He's super thin, he has no money, no clothes, no hair. He's just no teeth.
Could be a crackhead.
Could be a crackhead who got a hold to the wrong
stuff.
Anything else? Okay. She's chewing on this washcloth, and she gets really vocal when she starts putting her hands in her mouth.
Yeah.
So, alright, that tells me you're content. You don't have to sit on Daddy's lap anymore. What do you think? Oh, nothing? Okay, well, so you can stay. Alright. just threaten them and they'll stop. Oh my god! All right, we gotta put you down. Anyway, yeah, I liked it. I'm excited to see the final film. Not much else to say. I mean, that was it. I mean, I liked it. Like, keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's the next one you have?
Pick one.
Why don't you talk about Frozen?
Frozen. Okay. All right. So here's the deal with Frozen. I finally rented it from the library, actually. I liked it. I don't really understand all of the hype about it.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I mean, honestly, I like Tangled better. I like Princess and the Frog better. I liked Wreck-It Ralph better. I think there are a few things about the movie that I don't like. And you've seen this, right, Hooper?
I have, and I completely agree, especially about the Tangled comparison.
Okay, so if I spoil it from here on out, you listeners beware.
Yeah. This is the second time we're talking about it. I think we can...
Yeah, who cares? So, for me, one of the things that I find most angering about it, I guess, is just the fact that it seems so... Like, it doesn't feel like a Disney movie. And in fact, it feels like it's trying not to be a Disney movie. And I guess I find that offensive. Or something. I don't know. It seems like it's just cynical. And I understand the point, being like, oh, how could you be in love with somebody you just met and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I get all that. And that's fine. But, like, at the same time, they didn't really offer me anything new. I mean, Anna didn't marry what's-his-face, Hans or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Hans?
The dude with the deer. The reindeer.
Oh, the dude with the reindeer. Oh, crap. I don't remember.
Franz, I'll say. Franz Ferdinand.
Franz.
She didn't marry him or whatever, but, I mean, they still pretty much kind of fell in love very quickly. So, they didn't really do anything different. They just kept complaining about old Disney movies and not doing things different.
Christoph.
To me. Christoph, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. Christoph Waltz. And that actually would have made the movie a whole lot better.
Yeah.
So, and I'll also be a jerk here for a minute and say I didn't really like the music. I mean, it's very Broadway, which is fine, and there's a couple of good catchy numbers like Let It Go. The Let It Go sequence is really good. I'm not gonna dispute that, but I mean, it didn't have the fun that Disney music normally has. Like, think about Friend Like Me or anything from Aladdin, honestly. Anything from Lion King. I mean, it's fun. And if you look at something like Princess and the Frog, it has a specific setting in New Orleans. And so all the music is tailored to feel like it belongs in that world. And it's all fun to listen to. And to me, that's sort of what this was missing, was it wasn't fun to listen to. Like, do you want to build a snowman? Yeah, it may be kind of catchy, but it's not a fun song. It's depressing.
Yeah, it's depressing as shit.
And it really is. It's like, do you want to build a snowman? No, I want to be by myself. Go away. I hate you. And I hate the entire world. and it's just kind of like depressing to me. And so it's missing the fun. And it doesn't really feel like it belongs in that world. It feels like a Broadway show. And, I don't know. It's weird. If you think about, like, again, Princess and the Frog, when Tiana's father dies, it's kind of like, oh man, he was a nice guy. But when Anna and Elsa's parents die, it's like, good, they're jerks. I hate those people. You don't really, and that's sort of like the level of the whole movie is like, I don't really care about much of this. And it doesn't have the traditional Disney villain. And in fact, the villain of the movie shows up in the third act.
Yeah.
You don't know that this person is a villain until the third act. And it's really strange to structure the movie that way. And then that also calls into question his motivations. Because if you remember, he's like Anna comes in and is like, I need you to kiss me because I'm dying. And he's like, no, I think I'll just let you die. And then I'm going to go kill Elsa too. And it's like, well, you already had her in chains. Why didn't you kill her?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you went all the way to her castle, found her assaulting your men, and was like, "Hey, chill." No pun intended. I'm gonna. Hey, chill. I'm gonna put you in the stock.
Let's
and
kick
she's
some ice.
There's some ice. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good movie. Don't get me wrong. It's fine, but it's not as funny as the other Disney movies and that I've mentioned, and the music's not as great, and I don't know. I just don't understand the hype. That I think yesterday it became the 5th most successful movie of all time at the box office.
What?
Yes. So now it goes Avatar #1, Titanic, Avengers, and then what's number 4?
Like one of the Lord of the Rings films or something?
No.
Harry Potter?
Oh, it's Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Yeah.
And then Frozen. And then Iron Man 3 and some others. I don't know.
Wow.
But it finally beat Iron Man 3 at the box office, and so it's the 5th most successful film of all time.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It
to me.
is ridiculous.
I don't understand it.
It's. I mean, look, money. We know that box office doesn't necessarily reflect quality.
No.
Of film, but I mean, this film. It's okay. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I don't know. I have people who I respect and they love it, and I see people post stuff from it constantly. I'm just like,
yeah.
Look, it's a good film, but I mean, like, everyone's acting like it's the best movie they have ever seen.
Yeah.
And as if it's the only children's film in existence, like, it's just...
Right.
It's like...
Dude.
There's other stuff out there that's better.
Yeah, I mean, look, my 3 favorite Disney movies of all time, Lion King, Aladdin, and Jungle Book, is still so far ahead of Frozen. It's ridiculous. And everyone's forgotten those movies. I'm like, dude, the Jungle Book was made so long ago, and it was so much better.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Anyway, whatever.
Oh, well.
But yeah, and just for clarification, I pulled it up real quick. Top 10 at the box office: Avatar, Titanic, Avengers, Deathly Hallows Part 2, Frozen, Iron Man 3, Transformers: Dark of the Moon, Return of the King, Skyfall, and Dark Knight Rises.
Wow, Skyfall made it on there?
Skyfall's number 9.
Wow.
It's impressive.
Well, alright. Well, it's interesting that you feel the same way I felt about that, but again, I'm not surprised. It's...
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of generic, really.
It is.
Yeah.
Like I said, it doesn't... I mean, it's not bad. It just doesn't really offer anything that I haven't already been offered.
I saw The Hunger Games Catching Fire.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny, Dustin. Yeah, I rented this like a week ago or so, and just some quick thoughts. I really liked it. I liked this movie pretty much as much as I liked the book. I remember when I read the book, I was just like, holy shit! Like this, and it's a carbon copy of the book, which is good. It's not always a bad thing to just follow the book. Everything that they realized, like the arena is just how I pictured it, and this, just they got the details right. They kept the story going. If there's anything they cut out, I don't remember because I don't miss it.
Yeah, true.
Whoever Francis Lawrence made the right decisions with this film. It's not filmed handheld, which holy shit, that's an improvement. It's just filmed really well. Everyone's well cast. They keep the story going. The acting is better. Like they make Katniss seem like more of a person in this one than the previous one. Just keeps it going. The action's really great. And just it's a good film, and I'm excited to see Mockingjay. I started reading the book yesterday. And I'm this franchise. It's turned this franchise around because we really didn't like the first one, and this one was good. So when I first heard they announced a new director, I thought good because it can't get any worse.
Right. No. Yeah.
Good movie. I'm glad I saw it, and I'm excited going forward.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page.
All right. Do you have another one?
A Good Day to Die Hard.
Alrighty.
Have you seen this? You have?
Oh, that's right. I saw this in 2 parts, like several months apart.
Okay.
Which reflects how I feel about this film.
Yes, and I think we're going to feel about the same way. This movie is ridiculous. I don't know how else to put it. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, I really wanted to. I had to return the movie, but I really wanted to go back through and time the car chase scene that happens at the beginning, because I'm pretty sure about 15% of this film is one car chase, because that thing took forever. The movie's like 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is also ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure. I think I hear thunder. I'm pretty sure that that the thing is like, the car chase has to be 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be. And that's ridiculous. But anyway, okay, so basically, the plot of the film, John McClane is feeling sad, wants to find his son. Turns out his son is in a Russian prison because he murdered a man. So John McClane's like, oh boy, so I guess I gotta go over there. So he gets his daughter, Lucy, to take him to the airport, and he goes over to Russia, and wouldn't you know it, some shenanigans starts happening when he gets there. Mm-hmm. And the courthouse explodes where his son is being tried. And also, wouldn't you know it, his son is a secret agent. Because that's a plausible scenario. Mm-hmm. And, which, think about the first Die Hard. Like, it's extreme, sure, but it's plausible. You know? Like, the most extreme thing is a dude just walking on glass barefoot.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, everyone's like, oh no! And now he's like outside of a helicopter that's spinning, and he's like dangling from a chain, and it's like, I'm like, I don't even care. This doesn't even bother me.
Yeah.
If you go walk on some glass, though, that hurts.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Okay, so yeah, his son's a secret agent. Is it too early to retcon that? Because I don't want that to happen. I think it wouldn't it be so much better if his son was just like a plumber or something. It's like, Dad, why are you always getting into trouble? I'm just plumbing over here.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure how I would have preferred it, except for this movie to just not have been made.
Yeah,
that's kind of.
This was the first Die Hard movie that was written as a Die Hard movie.
Really?
Yeah, all the other Die Hard movies were other movies first, and then they just added the John McClane character into them. The first one was written as a sequel to Schwarzenegger's Commando.
Wow.
And then when he refused to do it, they just replaced the characters. And so that's how the first one was made. And then the second one was based on a book that featured different characters. The third one was based on a screenplay called Simon Says that featured different characters. Mm-hmm. And the fourth one was based on a screenplay called WorldWar3.com, which was based on different characters.
Wow.
And so this was the first one that was written to be a John McClane movie.
Wow.
Which isn't a good sign, because this is bad. Like, this is bad. And, I don't know. I can't say much about it. It's just stupid.
Yeah, it's just kind of meaningless, and you don't really care about anything that's going on, and that's it, really. I mean,
and let me throw this out there too. If you remember in the first movie, he goes over to the Nakatomi Towers, and he's like, "Oh, hey, my wife is registered under her maiden name. This is not a good thing." And so he's like, "Hey, we should probably be together. I'm going to save your life." And she's like, "Okay, but I don't know if I'm really in love with you." And he's like, "Oh, well, okay." And so then in the second one, I've never seen the second one, so I don't know. But I assume she's still like, I don't know. I'm still not feeling it.
Yeah.
And then in the third one, they don't even mention her. And in the fourth one, they don't even mention her. And then in this one, John McClane goes over to Russia. Spoiler alert, people. Mm-hmm. Goes over to Russia, saves the day with his son Jack, comes back to America, and there's Lucy waiting to see her brother, whom she hasn't seen in years, and Mom is just like, I know he was in a Russian prison, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care enough. And that's so weird to me.
It's weak.
Like, they just forgot his mother. Like, one would assume she's still alive.
They should have just given her cancer, like in the second one. You know,
I know.
and just referred to her in the past
third
tense. Yeah,
Yeah, if she wasn't going to be in the third one, just have John, like, depressed, like he is in that movie anyway.
Yeah.
And then just be like, oh, yeah, she died.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to worry about her anymore. But she's still alive, she's still working, she's still divorced from John. But evidently she's also divorced from her kids because she could not care less. And all I'm asking for is John to call her and be like, hey, by the way, I'm going to Russia to save our son who's on death row for murder.
Yeah.
You know, this is your son, by the way. Okay, bye. You know, that's all I want.
Right.
I don't think that's too much to ask.
Nah.
But, anyway.
All right, well, any further thoughts?
No, I'm good.
All right, I saw Gravity. I rented it on Blu-ray because I knew I would want to, and I was glad I did. I did not see what all the fuss was about.
Yeah.
It was technically very nice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, very well executed.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah, the story...
The story really is not there.
Pretty thin, yeah.
It's more just, the biggest thing I felt during the movie was that would suck to be in space, ever. And that's it.
Yep.
And you get that in the first few minutes. Like, as soon as, like, the debris starts hitting, you're like, wow, don't want to be there. And then at the end of the movie, you're like, yep, I still wouldn't want to be up there. That's it.
Exactly.
And so it's worth seeing because it's just pretty to look at, and there's some stuff you have never seen before.
Yeah,
But that's it. I mean, you know, it definitely. I'm glad I rented it and didn't see it in the theater because I would have felt like, oh well, that's cool, but you know, that's it.
It was really cool to see in theaters.
Yeah.
I think I saw it in 3D.
Yeah.
I think that's the most recent movie I've seen in 3D, and it was good. I enjoyed it. I think you're absolutely on point though. The story was so thin; it's hard to really grab.
There's nothing to connect to, really. I
mean,
you want to connect to her, and there's some weird subplot about how her daughter died, but that wasn't really necessary. Like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, you could have cut that out, and the movie would have been exactly...
You're succeeding by having a person stuck in space. Like, Castaway succeeds without, like, any weird emotional baggage. Like, the biggest baggage enhances the situation he's already in. Like, he's stuck on an island. That sucks already. It sucks even more when you're engaged and you really love your fiance and you think you'll never see her again. That's it.
Yeah.
But when you have a dead kid in your past, how does that enhance you being stuck in space? How does that make it feel worse for you? It doesn't.
No.
It's just like, oh, that sucks too, but you're going to run out of oxygen soon. Maybe you should be worried about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was cool. I mean, rent it. Make sure you have a big television and a Blu-ray player. Don't watch it on your phone. But other than that, I mean, it's, you know, whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
All right, what's your next one?
Okay, so G.I. Joe Retaliation is my next one. You remember how bad I said A Good Day to Die Hard was? Do you remember 5 minutes ago when I said that was a bad movie?
Yes.
Yeah, this one's worse.
The worst.
Yeah, this one's worse.
Oh dear.
There is nothing in this movie. Like, literally nothing. Okay, so Channing Tatum's in this movie for all of like 10 minutes. And so all the damage that he did to the first movie, you know, this was like pre 21 Jump Street Channing Tatum, right? Mm-hmm. This was the Channing Tatum that everybody was making fun of.
Yeah.
And G.I. Joe was why. And so when you watch the first G.I. Joe, it's like, okay, I don't care at all about Duke. Well, in 10 minutes, they kind of made you be like, oh, well, I don't know. He's not that bad.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, he's dead.
Yeah.
And so now it's up to The Rock, some dude that gets like 2 lines, so don't know why he survived, and Tyra from Friday Night Lights to fight through, stuff. And so here's Cobra Commander and Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow's back, even though he died in the last one, so not entirely sure how that happened. Retaliation's kind of a soft reboot in that they're like, yeah, the last one happened, but it also didn't happen. And so that's sort of how they explain, like, okay, well, here's Duke, but, like, Storm Shadow's still alive.
Oh, okay.
It's really weird. Oh, and, the president is still taken over by, Arnold Vosloo or whatever.
Yeah.
So that still happened, but Storm Shadow never died, and you know what I mean? It's like some of it happened. So, so none of that makes any sense.
Okay.
So anyway, the 3 survivors of the Joes decide they've got to go find the original Joe, who is played by Bruce Willis.
Oh, okay.
In a role where he cares so little about this movie. You have never seen an actor try so little. I kid you not. Bruce Willis in this movie, I guarantee you they had cue cards for him. Because he didn't... I would be surprised if he put enough effort in just memorizing his lines in this. So anyway, they have to fight Cobra Commander. Cobra Commander's goal in this film is... I'm going to launch, using Arnold Vosloo as the president, we're going to launch every nuclear warhead that America has at every country in the world while we're at, like, a big summit meeting. And that's going to cause all of those people to launch their weapons at us. And then when all the weapons are in the air, I'm going to self-destruct ours and claim that they're trying to kill us, and then they have to self-destruct theirs, and then therefore there will be no nuclear weapons on the face of this planet.
So you think they'll fire every single nuclear warhead they have?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Good luck.
Because I did. If I fire all of them, they'll fire all of theirs. And then if I destroy all mine in midair, then surely they will do the same.
Wouldn't that still create nuclear winter, you dumb shit?
It would. There are so many nuclear warheads exploding above our heads. Yeah. Everyone's dead anyway.
Yeah. What? Okay.
Okay, but that's not that. I'm about to spoil the end of this movie, and I apologize for any G.I. Joe fan who really wants to go into this movie fresh. But you know what? You don't.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. After this happens, Cobra Commander's like, now that all the nuclear... he's not British. He's like, now that all the nuclear warheads are gone... He's also not,
Rolf.
Yeah, Rolf. Or,
all the nuclear warheads.
All the nuclear warheads.
Villa, Georgia.
Yeah. Evans Barbecue. He's like, I've got a whole bunch... That is Rolf. Why am I doing Rolf for Cobra Commander? What does Cobra Commander even sound like?
I don't know.
I'm Cobra Commander. That's sort of...
Batman.
Anyway, okay, so... Anyway, he's got this big thing up in space. A bunch of them. These big satellites. I can't remember what they're called. Something stupid.
Okay.
And he's like, now that there's no nuclear weapons, and nobody can defend themselves, I have these weapons in the air that will kill all of you if you get out of line. And then everyone's like, oh, man, you're right.
Oh, man. Shucks.
Oh, shucks, Cobra Commander. Oh, you are so correct.
You really pulled one over on us there.
You are indeed a smart fellow.
Oh, you're very smart.
So Cobra Commander's like, let me show you how it works. And so it presses a button in a briefcase. And, because there's always a briefcase. And so basically what it is like a big gun. It's not nuclear or anything. It's just if we drop a big rod from space, gravity will pull it into the Earth's atmosphere with such force that it'll destroy a bunch of things. And so, like when it hits, it'll cause earthquakes and it'll just cause a lot of damage. That's the plan here. Now, we're assuming this is going to work. Truthfully, we can't test it. And honestly, if we drop a nuclear warhead from space, it's probably just going to float around. But we're going to assume that gravity will pull it in. And yet not pull these big space stations in.
Right.
So, anyway, he loads one and shoots it. So here comes the missile down in space. You think, okay, how are the Joes going to save the day? Here's the deal. They don't. The stupid rod hits in the middle of London. And I kid you not. People talk about Man of Steel having a lot of damage.
Uh-huh.
This rod that hits London in the scene where they blew their budget on this shot of London being destroyed. I'm talking millions of lives instantly just gone. All of London.
Half of the shows on Netflix too.
Yes. True. All of England just gone, leveled.
Jesus.
And then he's like, "Do I have your attention now?" And everyone's like, "Yep." And so all the summit meeting people are like, "Oh yeah, you have our attention now." And I'm like, "No one's crying. Like you just watched millions of people die. No one seems like at all upset about this." So then the Joes come in and they're like, "Hey, we're going to kill you, Cobra Commander." And he's like, "Not if I get away on my helicopter first," which he does. And then sequel. And then so The Rock finds one of Cobra Commander's dudes who has the briefcase because, if Cobra Commander's getting away, why take the briefcase? You might as well give that to a henchman.
Yeah.
And so The Rock finds the henchman, beats the crap out of him, kills him, and then he's like, "Not today, henchman," and then destroys the briefcase or whatever. Then all the Joes go to Washington, D.C., where Bruce Willis presents them with medals and is like, "Great job today, Joes." And I'm like, "No, London's gone.
Yeah.
You don't understand." And literally the movie ends with like a big, okay, do you remember how A New Hope ends with everyone happy and getting their medals? Yeah. That's how this movie ends.
Wow.
I'm like, you failed, Joes. You literally caused millions of people to die.
Wow.
You failed. And no one talks about it. No, Bruce Willis isn't like, "It's a shame at what happened in England, but it couldn't have been helped. But you guys did the best you could. Congratulations." Wow. That's not even the scenario. It's just, you saved the world again, Joes. No,
wow.
They may have saved most of the world, but there's a big part that they did not save. So that's that. And Cobra Commander's still out there. And there's only 3 Joes. So, there you go. But I will say this, Adrian Palicki, I'm in favor. So there you go.
Nothing more to say.
Nothing more to say.
Okay, well, I saw The Hangover Part 3. Yeah, I watched it because it kept popping up on HBO, and I was like, I'll just go ahead and do this. I'm curious, I guess. Right. Better than the second one.
Yeah, how could it not be?
Still worse than eating shit. See, this movie is essentially, alright, so it's different in that it doesn't surround anyone's nuptials, at the beginning, at least. But it's really Alan's story. The first movie is about all of them. The second movie is about all of them. This one's about all of them, but it's mostly about Alan. So I guess in a way I like that. Mm-hmm. At least that it focuses on
something.
It focuses on the arc of at least, probably their most dysfunctional character.
Sure.
So I appreciate that at least, because it's like, okay, one of them's going to grow up or at least get better, So that's a plus, I guess. The minus is it still features Ken Jeong heavily, because the whole plot's about him. They get kidnapped.
Are you serious?
They get kidnapped by John Goodman, and he's looking for Leslie Chow because he stole like $29 million from him. And it's like, you guys have to find Chow because no one can find him, but you guys can find him because, whatever. And so you're going to find him for me.
Because the screenwriter told me you could.
Yeah, because I read the script and it said you guys might know where he is. So that happens, and they go find Chow, and it's basically this weird little like goose chase where they're trying to get this money to give back to this other guy, and then Chow runs off, and so then they gotta find him, but then they're with Goodman, but then Chow's like, no, that guy's a liar, so then they're helping him again, and so in the course of that, Zach Galifianakis is wondering, it's in the trailer. There's some line in the trailer that's like, whenever we get together, bad things happen. And so he's kind of questioning like, what needs to change in my life to keep everyone better off, basically. So his arc is the best part of the movie. The jokes aren't funny, really. Chow is infuriating. And of all the movies, maybe because it features him so much, Ken Jeong's accent continually breaks throughout the whole thing.
Really?
It's like he's trying to figure out, what region am I from? I don't know, because this character essentially belongs in a sketch, not a feature-length film.
Yeah, exactly.
Where he has lots of dialogue. So,
he was fine in the first one where he had one scene or whatever.
Yeah, but when you try to, have him, that's where he's playing one emotion,
Yeah,
But then when you have him trying to play a range of scenarios, or where he's looking at blueprints of his old house saying, here's where the money is, it's like me trying to talk with Kermit's voice in a low tone. I can't do it, and I shouldn't be expected to do it, because it's like, I can't,
but at the same time, that's a fault of the writers too. They should know that character shouldn't say those things.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's I mean, like I said, better than the second one. I mean, if you like these movies, then I'm sure you'll like this one. I watched it just to see if I was right, and I was.
How many Wolfmother songs are in it?
I wasn't paying attention. I do admit I was multitasking during this because I was bored.
Yeah.
Once again, Doug is not really a character. He gets held hostage by John Goodman while the three of them go find Chow. And so it's just like, oh, okay.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It's just like,
dude,
all right. I mean, I'm sure Justin Bartha doesn't mind showing up and just collecting a check, but at the same time, it's like, why don't you let just the four of them, I don't know, look, I'd keep a hostage too, whatever, within logic outside the movie dictates keep a hostage. But it's just in that way it completely repeats the formula. And they return to Vegas in the end, so that kind of repeats the formula. I said, it's different. I'll give it credit for at least trying to not follow the exact same formula as the other two films, because that's one of the reasons I hated 2 so much, is it didn't try anything. And so this one does. It's one of those movies, I contend The Hangover should have been one movie, and that's it. It shouldn't have been a franchise, period.
I agree.
Alas, it does, so.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, what do you got?
The only way I could see that as a franchise is if they keep making Hangover movies about different characters experiencing hangover.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like a different group of people.
Yeah.
In a completely different circumstance.
Yeah, that would have been better. Like an anthology franchise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because then it can truly never end. That's arguably more profitable.
Yeah, and you never really get sick of it because they all feel different.
Yeah.
Because they're all about different people.
Huh, that's a good idea.
You know what I mean? Anyway.
All right, what's your next one, Dustin?
Fruitvale Station.
Okay.
Fruitvale Station is a little movie. I wouldn't be surprised if most of our listeners hadn't seen or heard of it. But it is in Redbox, so if you happen to find it, check it out. It's a good movie. For those of you who don't know, it's based on a true story. When did that happen? Was that 2008?
Yeah, I was like 7 or 8.
Let me double check on that.
While you're looking it up, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't it the story where the kid got tasered by? Did he get tasered by the subway, like the cops on the subway, or was he shot?
He was shot.
Okay. Oh, he was subdued. Like he was already down, right? He was he was subdued, and then they shot him.
Correct.
I saw it on someone's cell phone video.
Mm-hmm.
Someone on the train.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember this.
The story goes like this. Oscar Grant is a 22-year-old dude, and this is 2008, but it's really 2009 because it happens on New Year's Eve.
Okay.
And it's past midnight, so it's 2009. January 1st, 2009. And early morning. Oscar Grant and his friends are returning back home, and when they get off of the train, the cops start pulling people aside. And this is a true story. I don't know if it's still on YouTube or not, but for a while there, you could watch this happen. And I saw it on YouTube when it happened, because people were filming it with their cell phones. And the footage is actually at the beginning of this movie. And basically what happens is the cops pull everybody aside, but they don't really have cause. I mean, they got a call that there was a fight on the train, but they don't know who or when, or you know what I mean? It was very vague. So they start pulling people aside, and one of them is Oscar Grant, who, was like, dude, you have no reason to be pulling me aside. And so he's trying to, defend himself from these cops. And when he starts to move, one of the cops kind of pushes him to the ground. Mm-hmm. And so they're handcuffing him, and the cop that has a hold of him pulls out his gun and shoots him in the back.
It's one of those unquestionable cases of police brutality and excessive force.
Yeah, and
particularly, I'm not an espouser of this type of stuff, but particularly of young black males.
Yes, no, that's true.
Without question, this time.
Right. He, Oscar Grant, passed away a few hours later from the gunshot wound, and the police officer, all the police officers involved were, charged and removed from service, and I think the police chief stepped down, and it was a huge deal. And I think the guy who actually shot him, I think in his defense, he said in court that he thought he pulled out his taser, but it was actually his gun, and shot and killed him. And so the jury bought it, and so I think he served 18 months, and now he's free.
Wow. Even if that's true, don't...
Whether it's true or it isn't.
Every time I see a cop, they're on separate sides of your waist. You got
and you're trained.
Your gun on your right, taser on your left. They're usually facing different ways. At least what I've seen.
And you're trained to know.
Yeah.
You're never going to confuse them. And then when you hold one in your hand, you know which one it is.
Yeah. I imagine the triggers are a little different.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just every time I see a cop, they're on
the weight is different.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah. Gun would be heavier. Yeah. Different sides of your waist, facing different ways, different weight. You have 3 contingencies in place there. The fourth being, using your fucking eyes.
Yeah.
Maybe? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, pretty much.
So.
But he shot and kills the guy, shoots and kills the guy. So this movie's really like a chronicle of the last day of Oscar Grant's life. So I knew that the movie isn't going to be structured as a normal movie would be.
Right.
Because really, the movie's going to end with this altercation. So the beginning is going to be pretty unrelated to what is going to happen.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of a character study for the first hour, and then the last 30 minutes or so are, this altercation with the police. So, it's a really, really good movie, and you do get to know this character really well. And, there are times where, it may feel a little bit like they're just kind of pushing, okay, he's a good dad, he's a good husband, he's good this, and he's good at this. And at times it can, if you let it kind of come across as, okay, they're trying to sell him as, a really good guy because of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's no reason to think he wasn't all of those things. Right. A good dad, a good husband, a good son, and I'm sure that he was. And it's a super interesting movie, just from a structural point of view, and just from watching Michael B. Jordan's performance. This guy, I knew of Michael B. Jordan, but I never really, knew him. I think he's in one of the Justice League movies, isn't he?
It's some
he plays
point.
Cyborg.
Cyborg, yeah.
And then obviously he plays a big role in the last 2 seasons of Friday Night Lights. And he's phenomenal on that show. And then he's phenomenal here, and so I'm really looking forward to his career. I think he's a really talented guy. The movie was made for $900,000, so it's a really small kind of run and gun kind of movie, and it's really fun to watch. And but I say fun to watch. You know what I mean? It's a good, entertaining movie. And during, everything leading up to the altercation that is coming is really fun, because you get to see the screenwriter and the actor and the director create, this tapestry of this guy's life, even though we have such a limited view. We're watching the last day, but we get to know him as he's been for his life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a really, really, really kind of touching movie, and yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little depressing, but yeah, it's a really good movie, and I recommend it if you have a free rental, or you have some free time, check it out, because I mean, I know I just told you what happens, and if you follow the news, you probably know what happens anyway, but
it seems like it's more about execution that this movie kind of nails.
And that's what's fun, is to watch the execution of it, and it's a good movie.
Some of my favorite films are based on true events, and it's not so much what happens, but it's how it's presented. Like, one of my favorite movies is United 93. Because you know that no one on the plane's going to live.
Right.
But when you present it in a certain way, you see, and I consider, I mean, I'm sure the movie's not 100% accurate, but the movie was famous for having really, tried to stick to the realism and tried to stay true to the passengers on the plane, based on what their family members had done. That's one of those movies that makes me cry every time I see it, because I'm moved by the heroism, and the reason it hits home is because of execution. Like, I know they're not going to live, but the way in which they die, and everything has meaning because of how the filmmakers structured it and put it together for me. So any movie that can make a movie with an ending that isn't a surprise engaging is good, because it's almost like it's like you're starting with a handicap, or you're starting in the negative. It's like everyone already knows how your story ends. How do you still make it interesting?
How do you make it? Yeah, exactly.
So that's good.
And yeah, this movie's a good example of that as well. And it has like a 95 on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's a good movie. Octavia Spencer's in it. She's going to be the biggest name. Kevin Durand is in it.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, pretty much everybody else is kind of I didn't know them anyway, so.
Right.
Yeah. What's good about that is it allows you to believe these characters. You're not coming into it with baggage. It's not like Will Smith is in it and you're like, oh, well, I know I've seen you fight aliens. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it just adds to that level of realism, which this movie, needed.
All right.
So yeah.
I saw Natural Born Killers.
Yes.
This is from 1994 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Directed by Oliver Stone. I solely watched this because I recognized the title, and I know that Robert Downey Jr. is in the film, and I was just like, okay, well, let's watch this. The film is following this married couple. Oh crap! I should have pulled up, their, looking stuff up.
Is this the movie that's written by Quentin Tarantino?
Quentin Tarantino wrote the story. It was heavily rewritten.
Gotcha.
So I don't know how much of this is his words.
His vision.
I'm sure like the premise was his.
Sure.
But it got changed into the way I see it. This is not disclaimer. The HooperCast does not claim it that these events truly unfolded the way that we're about to tell them. The way I see it is, I bet Tarantino wrote a really awesome story about these two serial killers, or not even serial killers, just habitual killers. I'll call them, like know, and blah blah blah. And then Stone and a bunch of other guys took it and made it, and just bastardized it into this, heavy-handed, hypocritical social message about violence and the media's glorification of serial killers. I would have rather seen Tarantino's version of this. It would have been better because the premise is just fine. I mean, it's about this married couple, Mickey and Mallory Knox, and it's pretty much just. They're both had like really messed up childhoods, and they meet each other and they start becoming mass murderers, and the media sort of grabs them and just says, let's make them into, let's focus on them, and let's, they're glorified basically. And so it's about that. It was voted the 8th most controversial film of all time in 2006 by Entertainment Weekly. It was controversial at the time. Arguably controversial now, but I mean, I'll give it points for this. Any film that portrays the media's glorification of anything gets points with me. I really like The Truman Show, for instance, and The Hunger Games, too, for portraying a media that is okay with subjecting the subjects of these programs to a certain kind of life for their own pleasure or consumption. They follow Truman Burbank, a man who has no idea he's being watched 24/7. He has no idea he's the star of a television show, but no one gives a shit because, people like it. Even the film Gladiator, about gladiators, or The Hunger Games, you're making these people kill each other so you can watch it. Yeah. This is a little bit of a different way of the media in that, you instead of condemning serial killers, we build them up and do stories on them. I'll personally say that I agree that when someone kills someone else, the last thing you should give them is press.
Right.
At the same time, I understand it's also something that happened and people want to know about it. So half of it is just giving people facts. People decide whether or not to glorify it, but you have to leave that up to people. The media presents the facts. That's their job. If they do glorify them, okay, that's irresponsible, but leave it up to people to kind of decide what side of the moral fence you want to throw these people onto. But the movie follows them. They kill lots of people, a lot of times with just they're both just these rednecky, uneducated, previously molested, or mistreated people, and who's become serial killers. And Robert Downey Jr. plays this. I don't know who to compare him to. He's a tabloid journalist. He's Australian, so he's Robert Downey Jr. is doing an Australian accent the whole time. So that's fun to watch. But he's basically just this sensationalist guy who's he has like this crime show that's kind of like a 60 Minutes. Like eventually Mickey and Mallory are in prison, and so he decides to go to the prison and interview Mickey on live television. About why do you kill? What do you feel when you kill? And that's an interesting that part of the movie. The third act is the best part because. At a certain point, Mickey and Mallory are breaking out of the jail, and all this stuff is going on, and that was fun just as a jailbreak sequence, or act rather. But the third act is where the interview takes place, and that's the best part of the movie because you listen to a killer who you're supposed to be sympathizing with the whole time, who talks about it matter-of-factly, and you're not supposed to feel. I didn't feel. Anything chilling. Like if you're listening to Charles Manson talk about killing people, that's chilling. You know, that's like, oh, he really, wow. Mickey's is more just like a, well, you know, like a more of a philosophical reason for killing people. Not like a disrespect for life kind of thing, but more like a, you know, I don't know, just a philosophical, like, nihilistic kind of view of humanity. Nothing that gives you the creeps, just more like, oh, okay, well, I guess I could see that if I thought that way too, but I don't, so, you know. But that part of the movie is the most interesting, the most well-written part, to listen to someone explain why they would end another person's life and what regrets do they have, what maybe made them that way. Mrs. Hooper and I are both fascinated by serial killers. And I think, I don't think many people are.
Yeah, you always have been.
Yeah, but like it's something that's interesting because what makes a person at what point in because to me it's fascinating from a character perspective. At what point in someone's life do they decide this is what they're gonna do? Like they're not gonna go this way, they're gonna go this way. That's interesting to me. And serial killers are the most clear illustration of you know, of the effects of child abuse and of bullying, perhaps, you know, just any social disorder, you know, it's basically the exacerbation of that, you know, what could happen, you know. So that's not why I watched this, but that's why that third act resonates with me, because it's just like, oh, okay, this is kind of, you know, it's like listening to Albert Fish talk about why he, you know, cooked people. Like, you know,
yeah.
Oh, okay, well, that's interesting to me. But the movie itself, being an Oliver Stone film, just has a heavy-handed message about violence, but not as much as his other films about their subjects, I will say. This film got criticized for being hypocritical about it, as they commit these violent, you know, and violently shot murders. You know, violently shot in that they don't like imply the violence; they do show it. So it's like maybe implying it would have been stronger, because then you would have the moral high ground, but you don't.
Yeah.
Because you choose to indulge in it. There's a scene in particular that I did think was effective, where Rodney Dangerfield is Mallory, Juliette Lewis's father. So it's interesting to see him in there, and so the whole story of her childhood is, you know, he like molested her and stuff and whatever. Her childhood is presented as a sitcom with a laugh track, and he'll say something like, you better get out of here, I'll be upstairs later to, you know, whatever to you, and there's a laugh to it, and so it's a weird juxtaposition of like the typical sitcom, you know, shooting with this incredibly dark subject matter. I did like that, because as much as I was like, oh, that's, you know, kind of a weird thing, it's something I hadn't seen before, and just to sort of make you like really think, God, this is terrible, like, you know, to even think for a second that there's a studio audience who's laughing at these, you know, these molestation jokes, you know, and Rodney Dangerfield, of all people, being this just despicable, like, you know, monster of a father, like this slobbery bathrobe, you know, grease stain kind of father who's going to go upstairs and, you know, do stuff to his daughter. So you understand at least like why they're both so messed up, you know. But ultimately, the thing I hated most about the movie was just the over stylization of it. It was just shot in an incredibly stylized way. It's one of those films that decides at a particular scene it'll just do weird interludes of either camera shots or dialogue. It's just crazily filmed and aimless, I guess. But that third act really makes it worth it. Just the first two, you're wondering, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
You know. So, not what it's cracked up to be, ultimately skippable, but if you're going to watch it, that's what I liked. But, I mean, I don't know. I can't really recommend any movie that you have to sit through 2/3 of it to enjoy the last third.
Right.
Like, the last third's enjoyable because...
Like Godzilla.
Yeah, because you sat through the 2/3, right? You have context and it's enjoyable.
Sure.
But then again, you don't miss anything by skipping it, because you will have never had the context and therefore never enjoyed the third act, so skipping it's not a big deal. So it's really up to your discretion. I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, You could spend 2 hours watching a better movie.
Sure.
A better movie like Friday Night Lights, Dustin?
Perhaps. Ever since I finished Friday Night Lights, the show, I've been, in withdrawals, I guess. That's why I watched G.I. Joe Retaliation. Because Adrian Palicki. Okay. For those of you who don't know, let's back up. There was a book written, I don't even remember when. I should probably pull that up. It was written in 1990. The book was called Friday Night Lights, A Town, a Dream. Nope. Try that one more time. Friday Night Lights, A Town, a Team, and a Dream. And it was by a guy named H.G. Bissinger, and he was a member of the 1988 Permian High School Panthers football team. So the book follows that season, the 1988 season, and it also tackles a lot of the issues that were going on with the team at the time: racism, prejudices, segregation, social issues, class issues, all that kind of stuff. So the book is very well received. And so then in 2004, H.G. Bissinger's, I want to say it's his cousin, Peter Berg, or a distant cousin maybe, Peter Berg, wrote a screenplay and directed a film called Friday Night Lights based on the book. So the movie is a period piece. It's set in 1988, even though it was made in 2004. It has a really cool style to it. Peter Berg's got this really loose, kind of like a cinema verite kind of style, and it works really well, capturing football games. You wouldn't think, but it does. And so basically, here's a 2-hour movie that covers a lot of stuff and a lot of characters. It's covering, all the teammates, with focus on like Garrett Hedlund's character, Don Billingsley, and on Lucas Black's character, Mike Winchell. He's the he's the quarterback, and then Derek Luke plays Boobie Miles, and so those are the three main football players that we're following. Oh, and also Lee Thompson Young is in the movie as Chris Comer, which is also really sad because Lee Thompson Young was a really talented guy.
Yeah.
So those are the four football players that we really follow. And then we also follow the coach, played by Billy Bob Thornton. It's a lot of ground to cover in 2 hours. And it really the football kind of takes over towards the end of the film and kind of steals the show from, the characters, which is probably not a good thing because I really wanted to know the characters a little more. But Garrett Hedlund does a really great job. And, here's the thing, though. Billy Bob Thornton, he's kind of lifeless in the movie. He's just kind of a typical coach. And so when we compare it to the TV series, which Peter Berg also created the TV series a few years after the movie came out, he created the series because he realized there were things in this book that he didn't get a chance to cover in 2 hours. So if he makes a show, then and also sets it in modern day and with a fictional team as opposed to the actual team with the actual players, then he has more creative freedom. So that's what he does. So when we compare the show to the movie, we start to realize that they're really about two different things. The movie seems to be about football, and it's about the football season. It's a sports movie through and through. The show, on the other hand, isn't really about football. It's more about the impact that Coach Taylor, played by Kyle Chandler, and his wife, played by Connie Britton, the impact that they have on these kids that are around them because of football. So really the show is a character study, the movie is a football movie. And it's kind of a shame that it happened that way, but the show really is great, and the movie could have been, if they had just let the characters kind of, if they had just stayed with the characters rather than having to continually show football. But when you try to put a whole season of football into 2 hours, football is going to dominate the thing. So anyway, a couple little minor complaints. Connie Britton is in the movie as well. She plays the coach's wife in the movie. She plays the coach's wife in the show. In the show, she's given a lot to do. She has her own career. She's a mother. She's got her own opinions and her own voices that are different from her husband's, and yet she's still supportive, and they're still always on the same page. In the movie, however, she probably has maybe 2 lines total. She's really just there. So it's a really wasted opportunity because Connie Britton's such a talented actress, and she feels wasted in the movie. And then the other character that is in both is the other actor is Brad Leland, and he plays in both the head of the football boosters at the school. In the show, you get to know him. He's a used car. I guess he's a new car salesman. But anyway, he's a car salesman. He has a family. He's got these. I don't want to spoil anything, but he's got a few issues in the show, and you kind of get to know him. In the movie, though, he's just a background guy. He's kind of a jerk, and it's a little frustrating going, I guess, from the show to the movie because you know who these characters could be in the movie if they just had like another 3 hours to. If the movie was a 5-hour movie, you could get to some of that stuff. But so here's what I'm going to say: the movie's good. The movie stands alone. You don't have to read the book. You don't have to see the show. The movie stands alone, and it's a good movie if you want a sports movie that makes you feel good. But if you're interested more in character, if you're interested more in the way that good people can influence people that are hurting, then watch the show, because that's what the show's about. The show's not about football. So anyway, the movie's good. It doesn't reach the heights of the show, but then again, how could it? It's a fraction of the time. I spent way more time in Dillon, Texas than I do in Odessa, Texas in the movie. So you're just going to naturally be more inclined to the show just because that's where you spend more time. And it probably also has to do with what you see first. But yeah, the show I feel like is superior, but the movie's not bad. It's just different, and it feels different. But at the same time has enough connective tissue that it can kind of be a companion to it. And it doesn't feel like it's retreading. My worry was, having seen the show, I know sort of the archetypes of the players that they have. My worry was that when I see the movie, it's going to be spoiled for me because, that happened in the show, so this is what's going to happen in the movie. But it's really not. The movie is its own thing. The characters do have some similarities. Some of the players, the quarterback Mike Winchell in the movie is like a kind of like a redneck kind of quiet, keeps to himself kind of guy. And then likewise, Zach Gilford plays Matt Saracen in a very similar way, at least in the beginning. And then Garrett Hedlund is sort of the Taylor Kitsch equivalent. Again, you got to give it to the TV show because you just spend more time there. You get to know him a little more, and you get to see him breathe. But yeah, Friday Night Lights, the movie, is a good movie. It's just different, and I got to hand it to Peter Berg because he's taken a story that I feel like is probably really close to him, it being based on a family member, and made it into 2 very successful, at least artistically, successful pieces. And so you got to hand it to him on that account. And yeah, it's a good movie.
All right. Good.
I didn't expect you to talk about that long, but
all right. Well, that is it for this iteration of the HooperCast.
Man, we covered a lot of ground, dude.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff. What was that? 13 movies.
Son.
Yeah. All right, well, stay tuned for the next episode. We'll have some more stuff and other stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on down to Villa Rica, Georgia.
Hey, come on down and get some Evans barbecue.
Evans barbecue.
Yes.
That sounds so good. I need to go get some.
I know. I'd love some Evans barbecue right now.
I'm grilling burgers for Memorial Day.
Oh, I have nothing. I think I have some canned soup.
Oh, I'm sorry, Hooper. Bring the family to Douglasville.
Mail me a burger.
They won't be any good. You have to be here.
If you cook them right.
Well, that was oddly confrontational, Hooper. If you would just cook them right, they would be fine.
If you just don't fuck them up, they'll taste good in the mail. Oh, I'd love a burger right now.
Yeah.
Jeez. All right. Anyway.
Go get you one. Is there a BurgerFi anywhere near you?
A what?
A BurgerFi.
BurgerFi?
Yeah.
No.
Like F-I.
No.
It's a restaurant chain.
No.
They are...
There's a Five Guys somewhere.
Well, I'm not talking about Five Guys, Hooper. If I was talking about Five Guys, I would have said Five Guys.
I know.
That's not what I said. I said BurgerFi.
I want an In-N-Out burger.
I didn't say that either. And I didn't say Whataburger or Steak and Shake. I didn't say Fuddruckers. I didn't say B&D Burgers.
Burger King.
I didn't say Burger King. What are you hearing when I talk? Because what I'm saying is BurgerFi. And they make the best burgers and the best fries in Villa Rica, Georgia.
This is the most aggressive endorsement for BurgerFi.
Yeah.
Look, they make good burgers, okay?
Look, just go get one. I don't understand what your problem is.
If you
would just walk in the front door and order a burger and eat it, you would enjoy it.
If you don't get one, you're stupid.
Is that Patrick Warburton?
No.
Oh, I thought you were trying to do it.
If you don't get one, you're
Peter, I can't do it.
I think me trying was the worst part about trying to do that, yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't get the burger, you're stupid.
Yeah, shut up, Joe. I can't do Peter either.
Anyway. Yeah. Okay, well, see you next time, everybody.
Bye.